Hey, good morning. It is Tuesday. The market is open, taking a little bit of a break. I had wanted to do another video covering vaccines. Unfortunately, seeing quite a couple of my patient not doing so well. You really got to watch these COVID patients. Sometimes they get confused. They take their oxygen off, and their O2 just drops, and you got like eyes on the ball. And of course, sometimes we're short, just because we're seeing a little bit of a shortage in terms of staff. It happens, but I guess we're not having as an abundance of staff, but we're still having quite a few patients. And sometimes these patients, they get intubated, their oxygen levels don't come back up, and they just get intubated because that's what the family wants. And unfortunately, overwhelmingly, I often use that term, but it is the case. Like I'd say, at least where I'm at, probably I'd say over 90%. I would say over 90% of patients don't get extubated. So if you end up on a vent, there's a really good chance that you're just never going to come off of it, because by the time you get on it, there's too much lung damage. And so these patients, they can't oxygenate because there's just so much scar tissue. You look at the x-rays and they're just all whited out. But this is not what we're talking about for this particular video. Again, going back to, I always bring this particular principle up by Charlie Munger. He is a long-time investor. For those who don't know who Charlie Munger is, he is the partner of the famous investor Warren Buffett. And so Charlie Munger always said, in terms of how did he know where to put his money? If you're thinking about where I want to invest my money, what his principle that he followed was, if you show me the incentive, then I will show you the outcome. And so if he could look into the financial market, or if he can look at a particular business and to see what that business did, and if people could say, well, this is what the incentive is, well, then from a investor standpoint, he could then perceive what the outcome would be, and then he would invest accordingly. And so with that in mind, I said in my previous video that, let's just preface it this way. So many people do feel that the vaccine was rushed. Most vaccines take 10 years before they can be even brought to market. And of course, it's about 5 years before they can utilize them on people. They typically do long-term animal studies prior to doing any human studies. And of course, all of these companies bypassed animal trials and went straight to human trials. And those trials are basically still continuing. Forgive me, I am watching the market. Oh, damn, my TRX went down. It was up today. Anyways, so as I was saying, most vaccines typically take years. I think the CEO of Merck had said that anybody basically stating that there was going to be a vaccine within a year was being disingenuous. CEO of Merck, of course, he's been in the business of designing drugs for a very long time. And so from his experience, he was like, it's just not going to happen.
So can you sort of give me an update on where Merck stands in its race to develop a vaccine in terms of that phase 1 trial?
Well, let's say that we're assiduously advancing 2 candidates. We haven't talked a lot about them publicly. We tend not to talk about the work that we're doing until we have clinically meaningful data. That's always been our approach to things. But going back to the pledge, I think what these 9 companies are saying is that they want the people in the United States and around the world to know that the first thing we're going to be focused on is patient safety, and that we're going to follow rigorous scientific and regulatory standards before we bring a vaccine to market.
Do you worry at all about the political pressures infiltrating, if you will, into the approval process of any vaccine candidate that's out there?
Well, I know there are a lot of public voices talking about when vaccines will be ready, but the fact of the matter is you can't rush science. And we have to be very careful and deliberate. And the point of the pledge is that we're pledging, as the sponsors, as the developers, that we're actually going to be that careful, we're going to be that deliberate coming forward with these medicines, because we know we're going into healthy people. And when you're putting these vaccines into healthy people, you have to do everything possible to ensure that these vaccines are both safe and effective.
in COVID-19 vaccine and antiviral drug development. Merck, of course, has a tremendous track record, especially recently with your Ebola vaccine in developing solutions for these issues. And your chief of research, Roger Perlmutter, said that during the past quarter century, there have been only 7 vaccines directed against previously unaddressed human pathogens that earned FDA approval. 4 of those 7 were developed by Merck Research Labs. Tell us about your efforts.
Drug maker Merck has announced it is ending development of a COVID-19 vaccine. The decision comes after early studies showed immune responses were inferior to natural infection and to other COVID-19 vaccines. Merck says it plans to submit results from its phase 1 trials for publication in a peer-reviewed journal.
Welcome back, everybody. Recapping that Merck news that just crossed the wires. CEO Ken Frazier is going to be retiring on June 30th.
But we do have vaccine from Pfizer, one from Moderna, another one from Johnson & Johnson. You've got one from AstraZeneca, and I forget, maybe there's some, I think there's another one in China. Now, with all that stated, some people do feel apprehensive. Like I said in my previous video talking about the delay in distribution and of course vaccination, and this is going on globally. This is not something that is particular to like where I'm at here in New York. It's something that I'm seeing basically across the globe. Like for example, vaccine hoarding, shipping mishaps spark confusion about second dose. And this is from the Washington Post. This is dated February 16th, 2021. And of course, is going to this is scarce supply of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines have stirred anxiety about whether the required second dose would be available. It says different protocols in different jurisdictions, as well as several mishaps in recent weeks, have added to the frustration and concern in the greater Washington region. Another article here, this is 3 days ago, delayed Moderna shipment will force Petco vaccination site to close for 3 days. And this is in San Diego, California. Another article here, this is from January 20th, that says Moderna delays force NYC to reschedule 23,000 vaccine appointments. And of course, coming out of Canada, and this is from February 21st, it says Canada doesn't know how many more Moderna doses will be delivered or why there are delays. And in the video where I talked about Moderna, let's just go to Google. So Moderna has never brought a drug to market, right? So we'll just Google that. Moderna, here we go, has never brought a drug to market, right? And so I talked about this in one of the videos that I did, that it was kind of odd that a company, right? Not that. Don't want the YouTube video. Let's go to the Wall Street Journal, see if we can actually look at it. It says, inside Moderna, it says the vaccine frontrunner with no track record and an unsparring CEO. Right, so there's another article here, Market Watch. I think this is it. Moderna nears first authorization. This was the why. Here we go. This is as a Fortune magazine. Moderna has never distributed a product before. A Swiss company is here to help. There was another article that I read that talked about should you be afraid? Here we go. Should you be concerned that Moderna has never brought a drug to market? And this is as of October. This was in 2020. It says Dr. Murphy answers the questions. And it was just like, oh, of course not. You shouldn't be afraid at all that a company that has never brought a drug to market, that you should be worried about. Now, with that said, right? With that said, like I said, I've been investing on and off for probably about the past 18 years, right? And so we're going to take a look at the Pfizer stock, right? So Pfizer is one of the companies that is producing the vaccine, right? And so as you can see, stock's really not doing anything, as you can see, right? You look at the stock, not really moving. You can look at Johnson & Johnson that is also recently releasing a vaccine. And as you can see, even if for the most part, the stock has not been able to break 155. And so at most, the stock has seen an 8% jump in its basically sticker price, right? So you have a lot of these companies like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson that have been quite around for a long time. These are pharmaceutical companies that have been in business for generations, basically. They've been in, as you can see, this stock has been around for a very long time. Now, if you actually look at the Moderna stock, right? So we've seen Pfizer. Pfizer basically, for some reason, the stock is going down, even though for some reason they're going to sell billions of vaccines. For some strange reason, the stock just can't basically hold its price. And so every time it goes up, it just immediately sells right off. Johnson & Johnson, not really showing much of a benefit. Now, the Moderna company, on the other hand, as you can see, this stock, prior to working on the vaccine, was about $15. And right up about the time, sometime in January, we could say that the stock was about $18, $17, $19. And so, as you can see, the Moderna company has very much benefited as a result of the vaccine news of their stock. And so, well, we can say, let's just reasonably say it was $20, right? And so, how much did the Moderna company, as you can see, make? Well, they've made a whopping 800 and about 20% on their stock. I had never heard of this company before, and this company is brand new. As you can see, the stock did not go public until about the beginning of, just about the beginning of 2019, the end of 2018. And like the articles have said, Moderna has never brought a drug to market. So I can understand people's apprehension about taking a medication, let alone a vaccine, from a company that has never brought a drug to market and has had some unusual activity in its stock price. But something that some might feel even more concerned about is that the Moderna company, actually Moderna's groundbreaking vaccine, was designed in just 2 days. Now, of course, this is as of December 19th, 2020. And it goes on, when, the FDA granted Moderna's vaccine authorization, emergency authorization. It says the vaccine was found to be 94% effective. Amazing. A company that's never brought a drug to market for a novel virus that no one has ever heard of has designed a vaccine with a 94.1% effective at protecting people against the virus. Again, could be all coincidences. It says it took less than a year to develop the vaccine. It says years faster than previous vaccines. Like I've said, most vaccines at minimum are going to be about 5 years before you even jump to a larger population when it comes to testing your vaccine on large populations. Usually it's, about 10 years where you can clinically say the vaccine works, has minimal side effects, etc., right? But then it goes on to say that the company designed the vaccine in just 2 days. In the past, traditional vaccines had taken years to design. And Moderna's like, bro, I got this. Years? Do that shit in 2 days. And so I can understand, and again, it basically goes back to what I had said in the very beginning, right? If you show me the incentive, I will show you the outcome. And so some people might be concerned for a good reason. It's just, always have to be, always have to be very careful what you say on YouTube. But I would be very careful about what I put in my body under the circumstances that I have shown. It is entirely up to you what you choose to put inside of your own body. At the end of the day, the person who will benefit from the experience will be you, just like the person who might experience the negative effects of taking in a substance into your body will also be you. I've made my decision. I've made my decision. You have to make yours.